Welcome back to the Word Traction Network, everybody. This is I was criticized, or I received some helpful advice from a reader saying that my titles sucked on these episodes because they didn't provide enough description about what people should expect to hear once they engage. Fair, you know. Sometimes I'm sometimes I'm just trying to entertain myself, or make it kind of cryptic, which sometimes is lost on the entire audience, except of course myself and maybe the dog. So I'm going to try to do better. Today's episode, if I can remember it now that I've been yapping, running my yap, is hey DJT, can you give me an administrative subpoena reach around before you flock me again? All right. There's some colorful and perhaps illustrative, slightly bawdy language, but this was back when we were, remember way back when, and this is this has been less than 2 years, but ICE in LA, ICE in Chicago, and this was in the Mighty Mouse Dan Bavino period. Then they went over to Charlotte, and then and they bounced around. And after the tragic murders of two American citizens, uh, Renee Good and Alex Preddy in Minneapolis, they have been playing by a slightly different rulebook. Tom Homan, lots of criticism is due, but he's an actual cop and a grown up. So there are. I'm not giving him credit, but we could expect perhaps a little bit better, more professional behavior from him than we could Dan Bavino. So that's as close as I can get to a cautious, neutral acknowledgement. So, but what is an administrative subpoena? When we were talking about L.A. and Chicago, and what ICE wanted to do was to have the permission to basically kick in the door of any apartment or other dwelling where they had a feeling that there may be somebody who is an undocumented citizen or visitor here, and they could take them away. Of course, that's contrary to the Constitution. Even as certain members of the Supreme Court gave a little bit more, the Kavanaugh stops, right? More leeway because they're a bunch of fascists themselves, at least the conservative majority. But when it said judicial warrant necessary, meaning something signed by an actual judge, that kind of clarifies it a little bit. It's confusing in the moment because if you haven't been in this country for a long period of time, you're just minding your business, working your job, supporting your family, and a bunch of yahoos are banging at the door. The distinction between an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant, it is sometimes a little bit too fine. Does everybody have the attorney on speed dial? Do you have the resources to retain an attorney? All of those other things, and it's duress. And that's what ICE and our new federal law enforcement, unethical in almost every possible way. What they depend on is making people uncertain about what their rights are. You know, dispensing with the formalities of Miranda. Of course, Miranda isn't necessary in every time a law enforcement officer comes into contact with a civilian. This is, and I should have begun with this, but none of this is legal advice. None of this is legal advice. That's an important disclaimer. But this is trying to understand some of the tricks that Trump is employing to harass not just people of color, just many times now they are harassing people that are opposed to, the Antifas of the world, like me and many others, that are just standing up against fascism. They want to be able to punish people like that too. People that are just informing their fellow citizens of what their rights are in a non-legal way, just pointing, in the direction of this is an explanation of what you can expect if you encounter law enforcement and they do X. These are things that every citizen should be aware of. Of course, if you have the resources, contact an attorney. If you don't have the resources, do the investigative work on your version of free legal. I mean, in your particular community and your neighborhood, amongst your family, friends, people, and somebody that speaks the language that you speak. And there are legal service agencies in every state and almost every big city that take care of people of more limited means that don't have an attorney on speed dial. But this is sort of a horse of a different color. These administrative subpoenas are being abused by the Trump administration right now to sort of bypass the due process rights of of individuals and corporations, uh, to try to slip one past and gather information on the cheap and fast in a way that sometimes going through the formalities of getting a judicial warrant or a subpoena other than an administrative subpoena. There are other, there's the one of the names that I always enjoyed. That's that barking in the background is going to trigger a four-legged assassin who is only a glass door away from where I am right now. So you're probably going to get that in sort of stereo. So that if you're scared of dogs, it's going to be okay because between the two of them, it sounds like we're talking about 20 pounds. It'll be fine. So, one particular subpoena duces tecum, right? What that means, translating the Latin, is I want your ass in my chair and I want you to bring the shit with you. Right? That's a subpoena that demands that the individual bring a certain amount of business records or other things with them for analysis, inspection, and sneaky peeky stuff. So that's very very technical, but that is not connected to what we're talking about today. The administrative subpoena is something that the Trump administration and ICE are using to trick people in a lot of cases. So this subpoena, what it is intended for, there was a not a noble purpose, but a legally justifiable purpose when the practice began. If you think about certain administrative agencies that regulate businesses. And this is basically, hey, if you let me get a look at, I'm just concerned about 2 years of records related to sales to this particular entity that came up in a separate investigation. And because they're domiciled in a foreign country, we can clear this all up. If it's okay with you, you give me this administrative subpoena, asks that you give me these specific documents, and then I'll give them back to you and all is well, if that's okay with you. And people, a lot of times, to avoid the costs that accrue once you retain counsel, people like, yeah, That's I got nothing to hide. Those documents are in order, and as long as you're using them just for the purpose that you stated in the subpoena, then I don't have to hire an attorney. You don't have to sue me and go through all of that. Even though government agencies they get free legal, you don't. That's a reasonable use. What is an unreasonable use is what they're doing with ICE and other agencies. Is that they are presenting these to people in these high stress situations, right? And they can't get or don't want to jump through the hoops to get a judicial warrant. Excuse me. Then they can present this, and if you're sitting on your stoop and two Jethros, bearded Jethros with masks, very well armed, walk up to you and say, "Are you Jack Smith?" "Yes, I'm Jack Smith." "I am not Jack Smith." "I am Mr. Smith." "Yes, well, I have this subpoena, and this means you're required to hand over to me all documents related to X, Y, and Z." Take it and you read it, or you for me, you take it and you say you have to scan it so you can read it, and you go about your bit. Certain people will be like, "Yeah, path of least resistance. I got nothing to hide." But with these guys, they use this as a sort of a wedge issue, right? That can they use this to trick people to open up the door and let them come inside while you clear up this irregularity? They do that all the time. Right? And these administrative subpoenas do not require a judge's signature. A judge knows nothing about these at all, right? So what are you supposed to do? What you are entitled to do is say no. That's the first stop on the bus. Now, will they use your refusal to comply with something that you need not comply with according to law as a predicate to raise the temperature on the encounter in such a way that they claim un, uh, untruthfully that you became abusive and confrontational and you were threatening them? Yeah, I mean that shit happens all the time, right? But it's being used as a tool. Right? Some people even they go to Google with one of these and they say, with this, I want all of the location data for these 7 people for this period of time. Comply. Again, cheaper, not requiring judge's signature, more expeditious, right? You can print this out of your well, if you're if you're the young lady traveling with the president, you can print it out anywhere. It's your mobile desk, or Natalie, whatever her name is. Yeah, you can just print it out and get the right name in it and present it to these people. And like, oh man. Now, Google has corporate counsel. Google can lawyer up just as fast as the US government. But how about a smaller company? What about a flock wannabe? Somebody hoping to compete with Flock, and they aren't well capitalized. They don't have a ton of money, and they don't have an entire legal team. Yeah, well, it's the government, so I mean, of course, they. I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to use this information, and then they promised that they would shred it after they were done with it. And I don't want to get on the wrong side of the government because you've seen what DJT has done. What's he going to do? He's going to come and take 50% equity interest in this company that I just mortgaged my house to start. So yeah, I'm going to and that's what they hope. It's delivered by a guy with a gun, or delivered electronically or in the mail. People then have more time to think about it, and they say, "Oh, I'm gonna run this by the attorney." The attorney is gonna say, "Fuck them," you know, let them get a judicial warrant, let them get a proper subpoena. This is bullshit. Or path of least resistance. All they're they're asking for the invoice that we use to purchase a sleeve of 150 Dixie cups, and that's it. They're fucked up. So I'm going to just comply and just hope that they stay away. Hmm. People can make that, and that's you didn't need to hire a lawyer to make that determination. But again, in extremis, when you are under stress, or when somebody that is, uh, you know, I've been, except when I tried to escape this country, meaning when I lived in Venezuela by my choice. Um, I've been here for more than 6 decades. So I understand the difference between various types of warrants, sure. But a new arrival that grew up in a country that had a different legal system, and all of a sudden, we all the time, three Jethros, stinking of booze, a little bit twitchy, and maybe they're carrying two guns, right? Or maybe they have an AK strapped to their back. It's tense. You think Renee Good, you know, she was in her car, she wasn't driving at anybody, and they killed her right there in the car. Right? Mr. Preddy, all he was doing was trying to help somebody else, and he got shot however many times trying to be a good citizen. That kind of stuff sticks with you. So you're apprehensive. Yeah. So there's and the flock of it is the next step. The champion, excuse me, of this entire story, as it often is with government overreach, is Elizabeth Warren, my senator, my Commonwealth of Massachusetts senator. She is, and not a lawyer, but I guess she, as a younger person, she's young enough for all other purposes. When she was earlier in her career, I understand she was a teacher, and then did some other things, and has been a magnificent star in public service. And so she is continually pushing back, defending the rights of U.S. citizens. The workaround that the government, if you say judicial warrant, too much time, can't wait, let's try the administrative subpoena, see if we can slip it by them, because that's one piece of paper, that's easy, they give us the information. Okay, what's the next step down? That is buying data from data brokers, because as you've probably learned, the Palantirs of the world and its competitors are collecting massive amounts of your data and that of every other human being on the planet. They have different amounts of data for different people because they don't have an entire data set of every human being on the planet, but it ain't for lack of trying. Right? So what Liz Warren is, excuse me, Senator Warren to me, because she's not my friend, she's my senator, and she's a woman, so I'm going to respect the illustrious and delightful Senator Warren. What she's saying is there should be a law that restricts the ability of governmental agencies to purchase personal data as a workaround to what should be controlled by the judiciary. Meaning, what she wants to do is to ban organizations, and hopefully individuals, from purchasing information about individuals and corporations and making them default to due process rights and the protections under the Fourth Amendment, and say, before before you reach around or contact me in any other way, you should follow this A, B, and C, because that's what the judiciary is there for. That's what getting the judicial supervision before you grant permission for police departments and governmental agencies to invade your space. I want a judge to sign it, because the judge may look at it and say, this is another bullshit fishing expedition, which is what they do. These administrative subpoenas. It's like throwing 975,000 lines out in the water with the little bobbers and a fishing expedition, because if it only costs one piece of paper to do it, maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe we won't. Maybe we'll only get pushback on 17.5% of all of these administrative subpoenas and therefore we got a whole bunch of information about a whole bunch of people we want to oppress or harass. And it was one piece of paper and one bearded Jethro, right? Easy. I mean, the economy of that makes perfect sense. If you're a fascist regime, you can impact more people. Say, okay, we bought the list of every person who is a registered member of the DSA, and we'll go state by state. So we've got DSA of New York, including, hopefully at the top of the list, uh, Mayor Mamdani. Mayor Mamdani, which is and others. Daria Lisa Chevalier, right? One of the candidates that Mayor Mamdani supported. Zoran Kwame Mamdani. I hope they spell it right. And let's figure out some issue that we can try to raise and send administrative subpoenas to these folks living in this state that are members of DSA, because we're more likely to get Antifa or other people that are more likely to push back at the administration's illegal fascist overreach. And we can try to intimidate many more people more efficiently before the midterm election by let's get the DSA first, and then let's get the rest of the Democrats in blue states, and we'll sort it. We'll use that AI that's not fake news, and we'll sort it by jurisdictions, by constituencies that are deemed to be by our AI tool important toss-up districts. And we'll use our unlimited resources, meaning we'll use all of your tax dollars that we want to in order to interfere in the election. And we're going to just go state by state. We're going to pick races that are within within 10%, right, either way. And that could end up big truck, and that could end up swinging the result of the midterms. And we're going to victimize these voters that are registered or members of the DSA, and all those let's buy a different data set. Let's see if we can buy a data set of people that have sent money to the ACLU. Now, the ACLU is not sharing the information on who donates to them, but the Palantirs of the world are so sophisticated that information is out there. And a lot of things you don't know, a lot of data sets that you wouldn't expect are available are there. And for a price, Donald Trump, again, he can write checks all day long because he's spending your money. It's not coming out of his pocket. So just think of the possibilities exponentially, and you go by, you don't spend the money on the safe districts, on the mega maha plus 95 crazy fascist, we love Donald, even if he murders somebody on Fifth Avenue. We're not gonna, we're never gonna, we're never gonna, we don't need to sway their opinion. Whatever he's doing in Iran, whatever's going on with the Epstein files, whatever goes on with the further interviews of these 15-year-old women, all of the things that should be damaging, should be disqualifying, should have already been disqualifying before the last election, are not. We're dealing in where we are today, not in the world that we wish it would be. So let's let's get the swing districts, hit them hard with disinformation. We got Vladimir is ready to go. He's got his teams on the ground. They're congregating around Trump Tower. They're congregating around the famous, the most beautiful and picturesque Russian Riviera in the United States may just be Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, which is at the northern part of Miami Beach before you get to, I guess you get to Hallandale and then you get to the Broward Dade line. But Sunny Isles Beach has a number of exquisite, very tall, high-rise, not redundant, condominium towers that are very pricey, very beautiful, and some of them are branded Trump. And there's a whole bunch of Russian state security assets sprinkled throughout that area. The senior executives, they're up in the tower. The worker bees are living elsewhere in Sunny Isles Beach. But it's a place that you will not be surprised to hear Russian or Ukrainian, for that matter, spoken in that area. I used to go up there frequently because there are a lot of cool little tiny family-owned restaurants, or there used to be, and it's a pretty stretch of beach. So when I was up there meeting with retired KGB agents and trying to, I don't know, sell bikinis on the beach, whatever I was doing back a million years ago on Sunny Isles Beach, it is one of the places that lots of, we'll call them politely Russian influencers, tend to live. And many of the people that were working in 15 to influence Trump 1.0 were from that area. So, yeah, that is administrative subpoenas. Look into it, and again, if you are presented with one, certainly if you get it in advance, it's delivered electronically or it comes in the mail, you got more time to think about it. If a bearded bourbon and branch water breathing dragon comes to your front door, six gun, excuse me, and says, "This entitles me to search your house," you look at it and you say, "No, that's a subpoena, Jethro. What you're referring to would be a judicial warrant, and you ain't got one. So come on back when you do. Y'all be good. My name's Reggie Hammond. Peace out." Send them packing. Now, again, the confrontation is part of the program. Standing tall and breathing fire, or worse, and well armed, and like, no, we have a right to be here. You've got to take this. Here, just reach your hand out the door and take this piece of paper. That kind of that shit's going on all the time. That's as we've learned recently. If everybody could, of course, I haven't driven in 20 plus years because of bad peepers. But if everybody that was driving a car could afford to have, a dash cam, probably a good idea until we get get the fascists out of control of our lives. But it's not practical for everybody to do that. everybody have a Ring camera plus a dash cam. Then what? It's like, well, that's a Tay-Tay, right? Isn't it? Look what you made me do. Is that a Tay-Tay? I'm a little bit under educated on the Tay-Tay of it, but is that a title of a song? Some popular person. Look what you made me do. What are they turning us into when they're turning us into Orwellian uh, flubbers, right? That we are have to arm ourselves with all of these technologies to countermand the fascists. It's just a reminder to register to vote, make sure your ID game is tight, and that you're ready today, almost September, that you're ready for the November election. And as I've said before on this here feed, on this here platform, is I would counsel that you think about the general in 28 as well. Look at your ID. Anything you can do to renew or get, those that don't have the passport, get it. It's 10 years or more. Um, but make sure that you have all those boxes checked, the certified copy of your birth certificate, and be ready because when the when John Thune, I have to say it because it's part of my endorsement deal. That John Thune, the most handsome coward in Washington D.C., when the Senate and the House return from their extraordinarily long holiday break, then Trump is going to be jumping up and down trying to get them to pass some version of the SAVE Act. He'll keep trying right up to the election. Now, the Supreme Court should, if there's any rumblings or grumblings, it's like, no, no, not now. You want to do it for 28? That's fine, and that's still a short period of time, as we've discussed. That in an ideal world, the U.S. government would pay for a passport for legal, uh, every citizen of legal voting age. And that would mean starting at 16 now, because the 16-year-olds will be 18 by the general. And that would give a tip of the cap to the fascists. Right? We don't like to do that, but it's reasonable. Think about it. To, when the heretics of the red pill heretics scream that we're the only country in the free world that doesn't require voter ID to cast a ballot, that's not true. Not true, because most of what they say is false. But if you reason it out in a quiet moment and take the Trump out of it, right, TDS or otherwise, for people to have an ID to register to vote is not an unreasonable concept if it is rolled out, if the requirement is rolled out in a way that is responsible and equitable to all involved. Not everybody has $165 in order to execute the most fundamental right of a U.S. citizen, right? Voting. But if you roll out a plan, and I'll if you want to do it under a Democratic or a DSA banner, I'll roll it out. Just send lots of money. You you put forth legislation. You say that by 2030, it's the next midterms, every citizen, we're going to do, first half of the alphabet, this year and the second half next year, or break it up in three parts. And it'll overwhelm the agencies. The USPS that supports that administrative task is overwhelmed and out of money. The gentleman that is the Postmaster General is a Trump flunky, Mr. Steiner, and not an idiot. I mean, he was the president of is he the president of UPS or FedEx? One of, not CEO, but president of one of the major logistics companies in the universe. Not an idiot, just a MAGA flunky. But he is, the courts are kind of slapping him down with this whole idea about if you don't turn over the voter rolls, then we're not going to we're not going to deliver or return your mail-in ballots. Right? That's illegal. But they'll do things like that just to upset the apple cart because that's what they do. So pleasure as always. That was, what did we say? We said, hey, DJT, how about an administrative subpoena reach-around before you fluck me again? Right? Coming back for more. Because that's the kind of guy he is. The flock of it, we'll leave that. We talked a little bit yesterday about flock, about various communities that are pushing back and saying, there are vandals out there, ripping the cameras off of the signposts and all of that fun stuff. If you're the founder of Flock, you're like, yeah, tear them all down, so then I can charge double for new ones, and I'll put them up higher, and then I'll charge you again. But that's the kind of data. Talked about data brokers and Liz Warren. That all that data that's being assembled by the flocks, then sold to Palantir, and then shared back to the government, so that they don't, if DJT goes to Palantir, they're a Trump-aligned organization that was founded by Peter Thiel, the man that put J.D. Vance in office as vice president. So you can see a certain symbiotic relationship between those parties, and self-interest, and everybody gets paid and does a little circle jerk and goes home happy. At least it's a happy ending, whether you're in Argentina, Uruguay, or right on the streets of Manhattan. So, thank you, and that'll do for today. I would kindly ask you, I would beseech you, to subscribe for free, and be kind enough to restack this, share it within your network on Substack and elsewhere. One thing, because I'm asking all the time, but one thing I noticed, because I don't really play on these streets that I need to, is I need to get more involved on YouTube. And we all should, because it's a platform that's extraordinarily powerful. It's owned by Google, and has Substack is our happy place. But there may come a day in the future where governmental agencies and the fascists might try to, you have to imagine, what if they came for my Substack? I'm not being an alarmist. We're just talking here. You work on content. YouTube, not so great for written, but as I've argued here, the reason that I do all video now, and much, I do my writing, I do on my posts and my notes, because it's fun, because I can write over the top of an existing well-reported story, give my take. People can get my take, or they can just say, this guy's fucking crazy, and see the actual New York Times story or whatever is beneath it, or the Harvard Kennedy School opinion of a great economist, whatever that is. But yeah, I would. The ask is, if you have an account on YouTube, then kindly follow me. It's the same. It's my name, first name, last name, or it may be the same handle, SW Barger, but it's the same thing, essentially. If you would kindly follow me there, the link is also on Substack, as you know, on your homepage is a drop down that you can put all of your socials. And somebody I was following the other day was very an interesting content creator. And what I did, and I didn't subscribe to her at first because I follow somebody. I want to see what they're doing. I don't, subscribe day one. But one thing you can do, and people would appreciate it, you can go to that drop down menu for me or for anybody else, and it take you a minute. And if you click through and you say, "Oh, I don't have the money to spend $6 a month or whatever it is for this particular person," but what I could do a mitzvah. I could do something nice for them, and I could go and follow all of their accounts. So click down, like, okay, on Facebook, X, Blue Sky, YouTube, Threads, and then you're helping. We're collective action. We're helping each other out. Doesn't cost you any money. Costs you a minute or two, unless you're my age. Then it takes 4 minutes, and you just did something nice for another creator. And maybe by connecting with him or her, other people in your friend group will find their way back to their other work. You know how it's a cooperative experience. So I would ask. I have a YouTube account that is underutilized, but I need to start doing something, if not every day, at least a couple times a week, just doing a short clip and getting it out there, because that's how it starts. Is you post something of interest, however short. It's the same, with I'm on TikTok, even though TikTok shouldn't be there. It is. I'm not going to change that by myself. It's a powerful algorithm and tool. Just ask the Chinese Communist Party. They're the ones that own it and control it. So while they're there, without exposing any myself or any member of my family to damage, I'm going to use the tool as a promote. I'm going to use them to push my content out. So, yeah. So anything that you could do to follow any of those my other accounts on other platforms, it would be greatly appreciated. That was a long-winded way to get to thank you, and have a good day. And we will be back with you sometime tomorrow. Thanks very much.